I remember thinking, well, that was unexpected. And this is literally the most amount of money I have ever made, I have ever seen. And not to mention, quite literally, to have in the palm of my hands. This is what $100,000 feels like.
Shope, I be Shope honest. Someone I know got me on the next thing.
Welcome back. My name is Shope, Afrofusion recording artist and founder of clothing brand Culture Rich World. Over the years, I've grown from simply being a recording artist to still being a recording artist, but more holistically, being an entrepreneur and lover of all things creativity, culture, and business. With this channel, I have two goals: to give you good vibes with the music and to give you great insights as I share the many lessons that I'm learning on my journey, both personally and professionally. You're going to want to watch this till the end because at the end, I give you very actionable tips that you can implement today on your journey to your next $100,000. Let's get to it. So how did I make $100,000 paid out to me in one lump sum? I'll be honest with you, it wasn't in music. Now, to be fair, prior to this very specific incident I'm about to tell you about, I had generated about $100,000 in revenue from my music career over about a 2-year period. Now, that's not necessarily what I took home, what I netted, but I had generated this much. It was my gross revenue. I'm not trying to sell you a fake image here, just trying to be transparent with you. Anyways, even though I had seen over 6 figures pass through my business, this was the first time I literally had $100K in pure profit paid out to me in one go. And it was a certified check, so it was as good as cash. And I remember holding it and thinking, boy, I could get used to this right here, man. So here's how it happened. So it's 2020, right as the pandemic is kicking off. And I don't know about you, but for me, 2020 was supposed to be an amazing year. I was just coming off the 2019 CBC Searchlight win, which is a national talent search competition in Canada for like the best emerging and undiscovered talent. And I won the competition across the country. So winning it came with a bunch of prizes, with the most prominent prize being I was going to be a part of the upcoming Juno Awards, which is the Canadian equivalent of the Grammys. This is literally the biggest night in music in the country. This is where everybody who's anybody is there, including Canadian artists and industry pros who have gone on to do amazing things internationally, right? So artists, managers, agents, publishers, publicists, everyone. The Juno weekend is that one weekend where the Canadian music industry spread across the globe come back home. And I was scheduled not only to visit, not only to attend like red carpet and everything, but to actually perform at a couple of shows during the Juno weekend, with the most prominent show being the official after party. So this is the party that everyone goes to after the televised event. I was scheduled to actually perform at, so you know I was geeked. We had all my outfits planned down to the minute. I could have told you Saturday, 2:34 p.m. I'm gonna be rocking my Tommy Hilfiger boxers. I was excited to say the least. But we all know how 2020 turned out. I remember I was in a meeting with my stylist, shout out Jayla Nelson, Mr. Look My Fashion. And just as we had finished the final fitting, he was walking out and bloop, I get a notification. Juno Awards canceled. And in that moment, my heart sank. My big break, my big bag, all just disappeared in that moment. The biggest stage that I would have ever been on up until that moment, gone, just like that. And only God knows what kind of opportunities may have come out of that. So the dream of a soaring 2020 came to an end, or so I thought. So here I was in 2020 thinking, damn, like, what am I gonna do now? How am I going to generate revenue knowing that tours are canceled, shows are being canceled, and everybody's staying inside? And I didn't know. Now, I want you to keep this Juno story in mind because it's going to make sense at the end of this video. Fast forward a couple of months later, I get a random text from a friend of mine and he says, yo, I'm not sure if you and the wife are looking to buy a house, but I just got word that this house next to me is going to be going up for sale. And the owner is not like a shark investor. He's just an older guy. House is paid off. He just wants to downsize and move to the boonies somewhere. And so he's trying to do it through a private sale. He's trying to do it quietly. I'm like, all right, bet. But keep in mind that at this point, I have zero experience with real estate and we have some money saved up. But Toronto is a very expensive city. And so we have some money saved up, but it's not a ton of money. So we inquire, and the house was going for, get this, $649,000. Now, I can hear every Toronto person watching this video collectively scream, holy fill in the blank. Because if you know anything about Toronto real estate, you know this is a unicorn of a deal. This just does not happen. Even as of 2020, no house listed for less than $850,000 if you're lucky and you're ready to drop another bag on renovations. Now it's more like $1 million to like $1.3 million for almost any property in Toronto. And this was for a fully detached 2,000 square foot house with a partially completed basement in a good neighborhood. So this house should have been at minimum $1 million, not the $649,000 that he was willing to sell it for. And yet we almost didn't take it. We had some money saved up, but when we looked at the numbers and thought about it, we thought, man, this would be nice, but I don't think we can really do this right now. And that was true to an extent, but some of that was also fear, right? Buying a house was a new level of financial risk and responsibility that we had never had before. So I eventually got back to my friend and I told him, hey, I appreciate you telling me about this, but as much as we'd love to do it, we just didn't think we could do it. So I kind of just forgot about it and went on with my life. Fast forward 1 or 2 weeks go by and I'm hanging out with one of my brothers, like my blood brother family. We're just talking and chilling, and I kind of just casually mentioned, like, yo, man, my friend told me about this property that's going for $649,000. He swung it my way, but I'm not sure we can do it. As soon as I say this, my brother sits up. Like, he perks up, because what I didn't mention is that he works in finance. So financial planning, wealth management, mortgages, buying and selling properties, that's the world in which he lives, and he's doing pretty well for himself. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know, Shope, how did you not see this earlier? I know. We're just going to kind of skip over that and just keep going. Anyways, he perks up, pulls out his laptop, which is practically attached to him at this point, opens up a spreadsheet, runs some calculations, and then he looks at me and he's like, I'd be willing to go in with you on this. Like, I'd be willing to do like a 50-50 situation if you're down. And I'm like, huh, okay, well, I guess now it's possible. And what made this even better is the fact that he had done this many times before. So now I actually had an experienced partner to do this deal with, and it was an amazing situation. So we revisited the deal and then contacted the owner, thankfully just before it officially hit the market. Now, if you recall, a couple of weeks had already passed and the owner was trying to sell it privately but hadn't gotten any official offers just yet. So it was about a week before it was supposed to hit the market, and we already knew that once this house hit the market, it was going to create a bidding war, and it was more than likely going to disappear almost immediately. That's just the nature of Toronto real estate. So my brother ran the numbers. He saw it was very feasible. And so we put our heads together and scrambled to get him an official offer literally like 24 hours before it hit the market. Fun fact, the following day when we are trying to close the deal with his agent at her office, literally, no exaggeration, her phone is literally ringing off the hook, and she gets something like 15 voicemails from different people all making an offer on the place or trying to make an offer on the place. Long story short, we were able to purchase the property for about $649,000. We then put in another about $100K into renovating the top level, completely gutting out the basement and installing full 3-bedroom apartment in the basement. So this was at the end of 2020, and the house was complete and ready to go. The initial plan was to hold the place and to rent it out, but unfortunately this was during the height of the pandemic, and in Canada that meant the country was practically shut down. Nobody was going out and nobody was coming in. This was when I learned that the rental market is fueled by immigration. So that meant that we had this completed multifamily property that we just could not find renters for. And this was very strange for Toronto. Like, prior to this, rental properties disappear almost instantly. And it's gone back to that now. Like, so rental properties are very difficult. They don't stay on the market for any length of time. But at this time in 2020, there just weren't enough people coming into the country or into the city. And in fact, a lot of people were leaving the city, leaving apartments, and purchasing houses, purchasing properties. So the pandemic had this very interesting effect on Toronto real estate, where buying and selling went up, but rentals went down. And so our house was literally sitting empty for like 6 to 7 months. And here we are now carrying 2 different house payments, one for where we're living and a second mortgage for this new property that's sitting empty. And trust me, we did not have it like that. So we were literally bleeding capital, paying for 2 different accommodations, for 2 different living arrangements. Ultimately, it got to the point where as much as we would have liked to hold on to it, the best decision we realized was to sell it and take advantage of the positive effect of the pandemic on house sales, especially because we suspected that this positive uptick was more than likely not going to last forever. So we decided to sell. So it became a matter of, even though we didn't get what we initially wanted, a buy, hold, and rent for the long-term type of situation, we were still able to get a good price on the sale of the house. And thankfully, we were able to sell the house for over $1 million. By the time we covered all our expenses, purchase, renovation, mortgage, etc., and then we split the profit, both my brother and I walked away with $100,000 cash. Well, it was a certified check, so it was as good as cash. And this was incredible for me because it was my first ever real estate deal, and so it really opened up my eyes to the power of real estate. So why am I telling you this? This is not a real estate channel. What's the moral to the story? Here are 4 things that you can take from this story. Number 1, the world is full of opportunities that don't immediately look like opportunities. But if you're willing to think creatively, take risks, and partner with other people, you can go really, really far. I almost lost out on this deal because I initially wasn't thinking creatively enough. And on one level, I was letting fear lead. I wasn't sure I wanted to take the risk. I'd never done it before. There's a saying that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But I would even challenge that statement and say it's incomplete, because if you want to go fast, you are going to have a difficult time going fast all alone, trying to do everything by yourself. But if you develop a habit of thinking creatively, you can look around your life and ask yourself this question: what opportunities exist around me, and who can I potentially partner with to take advantage of some of them? The wealthiest people in the world often don't own 100% of everything or many things, but they do own pieces of a lot of different things. So if you don't necessarily have enough money or enough time, because it's not always about money, to take advantage of an opportunity, it's worth thinking through, how can I be creative and structure a deal in such a way that I can partner with somebody and then we both benefit from it. And one of the major advantages of doing this, of this strategy, is that now the risk is shared, but that means that you're also going to share the rewards, which just makes sense. So for me, the deal was an education in learning to think creatively, learning to see situations and think about them through a different lens, and learning to see that opportunity is around if you're willing to think creatively and partner with the right people. Maybe for you, it's not real estate, because real estate is capital intensive and you do need some money to get started. So it doesn't have to be real estate, but maybe for you, it's finding low to medium priced items that you can flip, right? Maybe you're good at sales and marketing, for example, and someone else that you know is great at research, finding those products that can be flipped. You could potentially partner with them. Maybe for you, it's content creation. So maybe you're good at ideating and coming up with great content ideas and even shooting them, but you don't know how to edit. Sure, you could learn how to edit on your own, but you could also partner with an up and coming editor who's really good, and you both build this platform together and then share the profits. And chances are it'd be much quicker to build that platform together than both of you trying to build it separately. And the list goes on. There's so many situations and opportunities that you can partner on. In short, think creatively and collaboratively. And this brings me to the second moral of the story. Lesson number 2, you have to partner with the right people, because especially when it comes to money, things can get very finicky very quickly. There's an expression that says, never do business with family. That can be true, but also consider how many major organizations are family businesses, right? Even historically, you just kind of went into the family business whether you wanted to or not, whether that was farming or shoemaking or carpentry, and the list goes on. And a lot of empires have been built this way. A lot of family dynasties have been built this way. So when my brother and I got into business with one another, everything was contracted, right? Everything was written down. Yes, I love them. Yes, I trust them with my life and with my kids and everything, but everything was written down. And even with that, we still had moments of conflict and disagreements, inevitably, which brings me back to my point of only partnering with the right people. You see, because both my brother and I are Christians, we agree on the most foundational, deepest, and core values. So even above the fact that we're blood brothers, which is important, we are both committed to the gospel of Jesus Christ as the deepest foundation upon which we build our lives individually individually. So because of these deep core truths that we both believe, thankfully we were able to work through disagreements and we were able to work through some of these issues that would have otherwise been difficult to resolve. Our mutual commitment ultimately to Jesus and our Christian faith demands that we love one another and demands that we carry ourselves in a certain way, in a specific way. And so because of this, we were able to work through any of these conflicts or disagreements that came up. So the moral of the story isn't just partnering with people, it is partnering with people with whom you share the deepest truths, the most foundational principles and values, and people who have a proven track record of good character. Because money is one of those things that has the potential to destroy friendships, to destroy relationships, and even to destroy families. So it is critically important that even as you take advantage of opportunities by partnering with others, you also know how to assess and pick the right people you could quite literally trust your life to. And even then, you still need to get everything in writing. And possibly, if necessary, even have an objective third party in place who can adjudicate in the event a conflict or a problem arises. This will make things go so smoothly. Lesson number 3. In your quest to build out the kind of life that you want, you will have to get creative. I'm a recording artist, so I want to keep making music. But in order to do that, I ultimately want and need financial freedom and independence. So follow my thought process here. This is how I've always thought through this whole thing of making money and pursuing art. Okay, follow the logic. I need to make enough money until my music monetizes in a significant way. But I also need to ensure that in the making of that money, I still have enough time to invest in my first love, creating art, creating music. The only way I can do this is by getting really creative with how I make money. I could go get a 9-to-5 job, but getting a 9-to-5 will give me money, but it will kill my time. So I have to open up multiple streams of income. I have to get very creative with regards to how I'm able to make money and preserve my time. And that's what thankfully I've been doing for the past 8 years, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos. I monetize within my music career and outside of my music career so as to enable me to continue pursuing music on my own terms. Thankfully, nobody can hold a gun over my head and force me to take a bad deal because I know I could make money in many different ways. And this real estate example was one example. So if you're a creative watching this and you want to keep making your art, you're gonna have to get creative with your income. Or maybe you're not a creative. Maybe you're not an artist, but you just want to create the kind of life that you want. And you have to get creative with how you make money. And last but not least, lesson number 4. Trust God to take care of you and do not be anxious. Remember the Juno Award story I told you at the beginning of this video? This is how that connects. In that year of 2020, that was supposed to be a monumental year for me. That was supposed to be quite possibly a breakout year for me. I didn't even mention that I was also in label conversations at this time. And in that year, every grand opportunity or lucrative deal I had lined up vanished. Just like that. And I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to make money. But there's a passage in the Bible, it's in Matthew chapter 6, that says this: do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink. Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap or gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they are? And then it continues talking about the grass and the flowers and how beautiful they are, even though they don't technically work. And it says this: if God so clothes the grass of the fields, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more than clothe you, O ye of little faith? And finally, this section concludes with this: therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. I encourage you to read that whole section if you can. It's in Matthew chapter 6. Are you in a position where you feel like things are at a head and things are getting pretty scary? Don't be anxious. At every single point in my life, God has come through in the most unexpected ways. In 2020, everything was stripped away from me, and somehow in the same year, I made more money than I'd ever made before. So moral number 4, lesson number 4 is trust God. He will come through. So that's the story of how I made my first $100,000 cash. Make sure you watch part 2 of this video where I talk about how I subsequently spent that $100,000 that I just made. Look, I really hope you got value from this. If you did and want to support this channel, To continue putting out great and inspiring content like this, I need you to support in a real and tangible way. First thing you can do is like, comment, and share this video with a friend. That's free. You know what else is free? Hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification. Now, if you want to go to the next level, you may or may not know that I have a premium clothing brand named Culture Rich World. And this isn't just artist merch, like it's a bona fide brand with pristine quality, amazing designs. And in fact, we're already stocked at a high-end retailer in Toronto. So if you want to consider taking your support to the next level, then please join the Culture Rich World mailing list. Trust me, you want to be a part of this list. Being a part of this list gives you special benefits like early access to drops, private events, special pricing, secret sales, and a whole lot more. Links are in the description. Check out these music videos for some great vibes and this for some more great insights. I'll see you next time.
I'll admit it. Yeah, I get it. You been holding me down for a minute. I've been taking too long, I'll admit it. Yeah, I'll admit it.